we have a very special delivery. In this very special video, we'll be unboxing and I'll be giving you my first impressions of the brand new Evercade VS Atomic Edition.
Get it up! Do the adventure! Good tricks! Not get your head! Oh yeah!
Hello again folks, and welcome back to a very special episode, as here next to me I have a brand new console from Evercade, the Evercade VS, but this is the Atomic Edition. And as soon as I laid eyes on this console, I knew it had to be mine. I am a massive fan of Duke Nukem, and I was looking for an excuse to upgrade my Evercade system, and this was the excuse I needed. Now, this isn't the first Evercade console I've added to my collection. For years I've had this one right here, the Evercade Premium Pack. Now, this was a birthday gift a few years ago and I absolutely love this thing. This is an absolutely amazing console and one I really enjoy, and it's such a good way to go back and enjoy some classic games. But of course there is some disadvantages to this one, and I'll go into them later why I decided to pick up the Evercade VS. Now, I do have a few cartridges as well. So we have the Atari Collection 1, the Namco Museum Collection, the Interplay Collection 1, and also the Pico Collection 1. And that's what I love about this console. You get to go back and just try some of these classic games, and even better, they're on a cartridge and it has a full manual. Evercade is just a fantastic company, and it's just a great way to go back and experience some of these awesome retro bangers. Just before we jump into the unboxing of this brand new console, I want to remind you folks, if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and please subscribe. I've said all along, I put up bonus videos throughout the week, and this video is one of them, not at the normal time. That's because I want to bring this console to everyone's attention as soon as it arrives. So this video is a bonus video. Let me just tell you a little bit more about this console before we get into the unboxing. So I pre-ordered this back at the end of May and it was £120. Now that's around the going price for an Evercade VS, but this one comes packed with two of the most exciting cartridges that I think personally have ever been put out on the Evercade. And also, this is a limited edition console. There was only 2,000 units available, and sadly, if you didn't pre-order one, these are all now sold out. And when I saw this console, I knew I had to have it. But enough talk, let's come get some. Let's jump into this one. I am super excited for this one. I've been wanting to jump into having an Evercade VS for the longest time, and it's just this was the excuse that I was looking for. The design of this is absolutely exceptional, and the games that come packaged with this just meant I had to have this one in the collection, and I think you'll see why. This is a thing of absolute beauty, and the main reason I had to have this, it comes with Duke Nukem Collection 1 and 2. The Duke Nukem franchise, especially these earlier games, are some of my favourite games of all time, and to be able to play them on this brand new console is going to be absolutely epic. Okay, enough talk. I'm going to tear into this one. I am so excited to see what it's like inside here. This is some tough plastic, and this came packaged incredibly well. It was tracked. I knew it was coming today, and I've been waiting like a rabid dog on the doorstep for the postman to bring this in. So, it looks of things, this is like a slip case. So it's a slip case that goes around, so super cool to begin with. Let's place that there out of the way. And on the inside, more branding for that Atomic Edition. But let's get this open. Now, that is a good looking console, people. And straight away on the top here, we have the console. This is it just looks so cool. It's not like fully Duke Nukem themed, but just look at this thing. It's so cool. It's just, everything about it is just, it looks cool. It just has like little like bits on the side. It has bits around here. It just looks so incredibly cool. And for me, half the thing with consoles is displaying them, and this one is going to look so cool next to my other consoles. What I love with this console is the attention to detail. Even the inside where you place the carts has a special yellow bit. It's little bits like this that really make these collector's editions special. Let's delve deeper into this box, and for me this is the main event, the two brand new Evercade cartridges. And for me this was the main selling point and the main reason I decided to upgrade to the Evercade Versus, and for one game in particular from this collection, and that game is on this cartridge. So it has Duke Nukem 1 and 2 remastered, which are getting incredibly hard to play, and that is one of the benefits of the Evercade, is being able to go back and play some of these more difficult to play games easily. But the main reason I wanted not just this package but the Evercade Versus was Duke Nukem 3D. I dread to think how many hours I spent playing this game in split screen multiplayer with my friend back on the N64. It was our go-to game. We played that more than GoldenEye, and that's why Duke Nukem 3D will always have such a special place in my heart. But of course, it's not just the one Duke Nukem cart you get with this Evercade Versus. You also get this other cart which has some of the best Duke Nukem games ever made. Duke Nukem Time to Kill, Duke Nukem Land of the Babes, and Duke Nukem Advance. You are really getting your money's worth with these cartridges. That is a lot of games on one cartridge. We are talking about two iconic PlayStation 1 Duke Nukem games, as well as Duke Nukem Advance, which, if you do not know, is a very expensive game, especially if you're going CIB. And at the end of the day, with a lot of these Evercade cartridges, this is a great way to go back and play these games, not just easily on a modern TV, but also for a fraction of the price it would cost to buy all these games separately. Hiding deep in the bottom of the box, we have two last things which really round off how awesome this collection is. We have not one, but two of these Arcade Versus controllers, and once again they have carried on the theme of the console. These are super duper cool. I've never used one of these Evercade Versus controllers, and first impressions, it has a good weight to it. It has a decent amount of lead. The buttons feel nice. This is a really, really cool controller, but at the end of the day, the only way to really know how well this controls is to set the console up and jump into some Duke Nukem. Just before we set this console up, two things to note which I didn't know. First off, this console does require an HDMI lead, which it doesn't come with, which isn't really the end of the day. I'm sure everyone has a million HDMI leads laying around. Secondly, it comes with a power cable, but you will need a micro USB power plug for this console, and make sure you have the right wattage in that plug. Now, with those things noted, let's set it up. Here's something super cool I noticed the first time I turned on the Evercade VS Atomic Edition. These lights on the front of the console when it's loading up change colour, and also never forget the fact you can put two cartridges in the console at once, twice the games. Here we go then, all set up, ready to go. My first time playing the Evercade VS Atomic Edition. Let's pump this one up and get ready to get into some gaming. So this will be the first time the console has been turned on, so I just want to kind of give you an idea of how quick this thing is to set up. So this might take a minute, but just sit back and enjoy it. If you've just bought yourself this brand new console, this is what you have to expect. And that is a pretty quick setup. So I know you can connect this to Wi-Fi, which we can do later, and you do have the Versus option. But the cool thing about the Evercade VS Atomic Edition, you can load two cartridges in, which does mean we have every single Duke Nukem game from the two collections ready to go. And it's just a small thing, but it's a real advantage having all of these games ready loaded on the console. You don't have to skip between the carts. It's just easier to jump straight in, and that's what we're going to do first with Duke Nukem 1 and 2. I'm going to play a little bit of each game so you kind of get an idea of what these are like. This is one thing I really love about the Evercade. You get a little bit of a blurb about each game, the stats, the controls, so you're ready to jump straight into the game. So you can see it's a collection of two platformers, 30 levels, even a little bit of history. It's just little tiny bits like this that really make me love the Evercade. So as you can see, another advantage is because this is a cartridge-based console, it does load up pretty quickly. And there is that iconic music. Let's jump straight in, Duke Nukem 1. So what we're going to do is play a little bit of each game to kind of give you an idea of what these are like and how they play. And it has been a minute since I've played this one. And straight away, the controls work so well on this one. Like, this controller is absolutely fantastic. It just controls so well. And yeah, first impressions, this is a fantastic version of this quality retro Duke Nukem classic. One added advantage of the Evercade is you can press the middle button on the controller and you can save your game, which of course of a lot of these games you never used to be able to save them. This is a great way to kind of get further in these games without having to like lose your lives. Let's jump into Duke Nukem 2 then, and first impressions. The first game seemed very, very good. Not quite ready for Hail to the Kings. Let's jump into this one. And the jump in graphics is actually one of the biggest surprises with this one. It really does look a lot better, like with the cutscenes as well. It's so much more improved than the first Duke Nukem. But let's skip the cutscenes for now and jump straight into the game. And again, I'm just blown away by how well this actually controls. This controller is obviously not the original way this game would have been played, but it just works so incredibly well with the Evercade VS controller. It really is one of the best retro-inspired controllers I think I've ever used. Okay, we're going to come back to Duke Nukem 3D because I want to save that one till last. So let's jump into Duke Nukem Advance. And this was a game I don't think I've ever played, and this one has a really high price tag. So being able to play this on the Evercade is going to save a considerable amount of money. Now don't forget, this is a Game Boy Advance game on a 65-inch TV. That is one thing to definitely consider this one. Obviously, yes, you can play this on the handheld Evercade, but for me, this was what I wanted to do. I wanted to see what these games look like on the giant TV, and straight away, I was not expecting this to be a 3D game. I know it's basically a kind of copy of Duke Nukem 3D, but it feels weird. This one definitely feels weird. It controls surprisingly well for like a Game Boy Advance game, which was a 3D shooter. This actually plays surprisingly well, and you can kind of see. You can get the feel still for like Duke Nukem 3D, but it's amazing they could get anywhere near on the limitations of the Game Boy Advance. Let's move on from the Game Boy Advance to the PlayStation and Duke Nukem Land of the Babes. Now this was actually a game I did own back in the day, but it didn't have just quite as much love as I think Duke Nukem 3D did. Yes, it was still a really good Duke Nukem game. It had that sense of humour and the kind of fun, but it was the first time I'd played a Duke Nukem game on the PlayStation 1, coming away from my beloved N64, and it's good to see the loading speed is pretty good for a PlayStation 1 game. You've got to remember, we've been going from a Game Boy Advance game to a PS1 game, and the graphics this one, while yes they are still blocky, it's definitely a good looking game. Even though I do know when this was released it was a very, very budget title, but having played the PlayStation 1 version of this game, this looks like a very, very faithful recreation of that game. And that's one of the things I love about Evercade. They seem to emulate these games so well. Of course, this is not the original hardware of this game, but this is running absolutely fantastic. So it'll be quite interesting to see how this one actually plays, because of course we are kind of going from a console which is fairly simple to the PlayStation which had a lot more buttons. And of course the Evercade does have a lot of buttons on its controller. And here's the thing, it just works for so many different games, even though this one is one which I do feel could have the kind of benefit of having a joystick rather than the D-pad, but it still controls fairly well. It just feels a little bit more clunky. Here is one very minor gripe which I do have with this game, Duke Nukem Land of the Babes. Having played this back in the day on the PlayStation 1, I do remember it having an iconic soundtrack at the start. It had a song which I cannot remember the name of by Static X, and I'm a massive metal fan and I was loving that. But I can understand why that song isn't in this for licensing reasons, but it's something that I do miss a little bit. Next up we have Duke Nukem Time to Kill, and this was a game I didn't play very much back in the day, and this is one of the advantages of the Evercade, is going back and playing some of these games you miss, because at the end of the day no one can play every single game, but straight out of the gate This one definitely has the kind of theme of Duke Nukem down to an absolute T. We've got heavy metal, we've got strip bars, we've got motorbikes. This for me is the definition of what Duke Nukem really is. So let's check this one out, and we'll go straight into a one-player game. Now, I'm not sure if this is a co-op game or a competitive game. Let me know in the comments down below. Of course, this console does have multiplayer capabilities, so it could be a multiplayer game. And classic Duke Nukem, choose your difficulty level. Classic, let's just get some.
Looks like it's time to kill.
Yes, folks, that is the name of the game. And for some reason, this one seems to play a lot better than the last Duke Nukem game we played. This one seems a lot, like, just feels a lot easier to control straight away. Which I don't know, maybe this is a kind of faithful recreation of these games. Maybe this game just did have much better controls, but straight off the bat, this one feels a lot smoother and much more fun to play. Let's get down to the main event then, Duke Nukem 3D. The main reason I wanted to buy not just this console, but also this bundle of games. And just before we jump in, a really cool thing, these three little dots here, you can play the game in competition mode, which if you're going for like time trials or just trying to complete the game quickly or any kind of challenge, is a fantastic way to keep track of your stats. But for today, I just want to jump straight into this one. Here's something I'm not sure about this particular version of Duke Nukem 3D. Now, is this a port of the N64 version or the PC version? I have a feeling it's the PC version, but if you know, let me know in the comments down below. But let's just jump into this iconic game. That is without a doubt one of the most iconic openings to any game ever. It's just something I always remember, that line. And that's what I love about the Duke Nukem franchise as a whole. It's just some of the absolutely incredible, iconic lines that come out of Duke. Some of them probably not exactly considered PC these days, but again, I love Duke Nukem. I'm gutted we have not had a decent Duke Nukem game for absolutely years, and this is just a fantastic way to keep this dying franchise alive and a great way to go back and play some of these classic games. There we have it then, folks. That was my unboxing and first impressions of this, the Evercade VS Atomic Edition. And as first impressions go, I am blown out of the water by the Evercade VS. I've had a handheld Evercade for the longest time, but this for me is now the best way to play some of the most iconic, classic retro games of all time. The two new Duke Nukem collections are absolutely sublime, and with the ever-growing catalogue of Evercade carts, there's just something for everyone on this amazing console. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe, and as always, keep playing the game. See y'all soon!